so many things going on with AI. I use ChatGPT. There's a couple of other things where it's like you can type something in and it gives you like crazy photos. What have you done to integrate AI into your business?
So we just this week released some AI tools in our marketing automation platform. Mostly, I mean, there's a ton of other things we could add in, but we tried to specifically pick things that we thought our clients would probably be really bad at. So, for instance, if they want to do a Facebook post and they want to boost it, they can click a button, fill in the basics of what's your main offer, and it basically like two or three basic questions like what's your main offer, who are you targeting, and I don't know what the third one would be, but and then they click go, and it'll return to them five different options for ad copy.
Right.
And so we've got stuff like that. We keep trying to get them to do video content, and they don't want to because we want to get them on TikTok. So we programmed a prompt on the back end so they can put in their basic idea and click a button, and our platform will give them a TikTok video script to follow.
Oh, really? Yeah. Cool. Do it.
All right, and we are go.
All right. So on today's podcast, on the Clutch Moving podcast, or which let's do something different.
Start from the top, yeah.
Yeah, the Clutch podcast. The Clutch podcast. Yeah. All right.
That's what you've been calling it.
I've been calling it that. Right? All right. So today on the Clutch podcast, we got my special guest here, Mr. Chris Leo with Movu Digital Marketing.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to keep talking.
All right, let's go. Let's take it from the top one more time.
Yeah. No,
right.
no worries.
All right. All good. All right. So on today's Clutch podcast, we have our special guest, Mr. Chris Leo.
How's it going, guys? Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So Chris, your company is Movo Digital Marketing. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into digital marketing, and your past experiences that you had before you got onto your business.
Sure. So I come from a long line of marketing, actually. Starting back actually in the traditional marketing vertical. I was a student at Santa Clara University, and long story short, I was supposed to go to grad school, and I just woke up one morning and it's like, I don't want to go. And I, at the time, because you know how like when you're a broke college kid, you're always doing whatever. You've got a million side jobs. I was brokering printing and doing. I had a business that would, for pizza companies, put out door hangers for like you get the like $10 off a pizza or whatever.
Right.
And so because I was in a position where I was going to have to call my parents and say, hey, I know I'm like a month away from graduation. Thanks for all that tuition money. I'm not going to go to grad school. I had to figure something out. So I thought, I'll just broker printing. And so I started doing that just to pay bills. And then all of a sudden, one day I met a real estate agent, and they were explaining to me, they were the broker for the office, and explaining to me how they had all these talented agents that were making tons of money, but they were so disorganized and not really looking at the business like a business, that his theory was they were leaving a lot of money on the table. So I started talking with him, trying to figure some stuff out, and he introduced me to a couple of them, and I started helping them put processes into how they market themselves and then how they follow up with leads. And this was not to age myself, but this was like in 1999, 2000. So there wasn't like the wealth of, marketing automation tools and things that are out there now. And so that led into basically, we opened a print shop, we opened a direct mail house, we had a full design team. We partnered with Salesforce doing CRM applications for the real estate industry to help make them more efficient. And so I did that up until 2017, and I exited that company. When we were doing our traditional marketing company, we always used digital, and especially at that time, we were heavily involved in content marketing. So we had a partnership with HubSpot, and so we fully drank the Kool-Aid, and it worked. So because I had a background in all that, I knew I needed to do something else because I wasn't ready to quit, and I started working with other digital agencies. They basically hired me to come in and plug all their holes. A lot of them, like they had process problems that were annoying the client, and so in some cases they were having to get new clients just to fill the void of the clients that were leaving. And so I started going in and fixing that stuff for a few agencies, and then they asked me, "Hey, you're really good with the clients. Also, would you run some of these accounts?" And it was fun for a while, but then all of a sudden I had this epiphany, like, why am I doing this for them? I should just open another company and do it for myself. And so that's kind of where it's evolved into. And so now 5 years in, we've got I've got a distributed team all over the country. And yeah, it's just all gas, no brakes.
Awesome. So let's take it back where you said you're brokering printing. What does that mean?
So basically, you could be a print shop owner.
Okay.
And so you have your own accounts, right? And so you're printing for Google, let's say you're a big print shop. But the reality is the press time isn't always full, and so you've got to make those payments on those presses. So there's especially graphic designers, they'll broker printing, so they basically make a relationship with a printing company, and they bring all their work to that person. And so generally you get like a discounted rate because you're bringing volume of work to them, right?
Gotcha. So essentially you're that print shop's salesperson. Is that what it is?
Exactly. Except for they don't have to pay me, give me insurance, workers' comp. Yeah. So it's like I'm a contractor basically.
Got it. So now how long were you doing that? And then you said you partnered with a real estate agent to start your guys' own printing?
So one of the pizza restaurants that we were doing marketing for, it was like lunchtime one day, and I went over there to get a check for a job that I'd just done for him. And he mentioned, he's like, "Hey, I'd like you to meet this guy. He's a real estate broker. I think they could use your help." Which is really interesting because they already had a bunch of people that could do printing, whatever. But this guy that owned this pizza place, I guess, who knows, just the way I was talking with him about ideas and things, even though like I was just focused on the singular thing of just getting print material out, he saw in me something that I guess I just didn't see. And so it was weird the way it all just kind of came together.
Got it. So when you had that print shop with that real estate broker, were you guys just sending like direct mail, or what were you guys kind of doing on that end? And was that super beneficial for that broker that went into business with you?
It was. Yeah. So we started out with just doing direct mail, door-to-door distribution of, like, how you get those flyers on your doorstep or whatever.
Right.
And then helping with their listing presentations was like the next step, trying to get their messaging and everything on point. And then we figured out real quick that if you could put things into easy packages, almost like a production line, so it's a no-brainer for the agent, then that really helped out. And so like with many things, one brokerage led to another, and then we ended up doing a huge deal for, at the time it was called Seville Contempo. And then they got purchased by Century 21. So we did that. And then they got purchased by Coldwell Banker. And then the head of it at the time, Gino Blafari, decided he wanted to go, and he started Intero. So we helped launch Intero, which now, as you know, Berkshire Hathaway owns.
Yep.
So in all those, like at one point I was flying all over the country, and all of it was the same thing, just putting processes together. Because none of this stuff's rocket science, right? It's just you need to analyze and figure out what's working, and then put it into a really as simplistic as possible chain of events that you can replicate over and over, and more or less expect the same results.
Got it. So back then, when you're like doing direct mail and like door signs and door hangers and everything like that, because us as a company, we used to do direct mail. We used to send out tons of direct mail, and it used to work. But now it doesn't. It seems like there's so many people in the industry that's sending out direct mail to houses that just got listed. How effective was direct mail back then, and how effective do you think it is now?
Back then, I'd say it was hard at best to tell because there was no real way to track it.
That's right. There's no call rail. There's no,
None of that existed, right? Yeah, and we did this kind of crazy thing in, I'd say, around 2010. We were able, because digital presses had come in. So like Xerox and HP, all these guys were making basically, think of like a $1 million color laser printer.
Right.
So it's like perfect quality, everything on any kind of card stock, whatever. At that point, we could do variable data printing. So we were driving people from the print piece back to the web, and they would put in a code. And then based on that code, we know that, Jane Smith at 123 Main Street just replied to something. So then we could actually get real analytics. Mm-hmm. But yeah, back in the day, originally, at best, maybe somebody had a spare phone number. Or there was always some sort of call to action. So maybe the whoever got the card like specifically responded to that call to action, but that was about all you could track.
So what do you see as far as the main differences from like the old age marketing to the new age marketing? And do you think that the old age marketing still works?
Interesting. So I think to answer your first question, so compare the old to the today.
Yeah.
I think there's been an interesting change in the last, what's it been now? Maybe 12 months. So, Apple, these guys decide they want to keep their walled garden more walled. And so they took away a lot of the things that we all used to use in digital marketing to track people, right? And so I think what happened is technology, the way it was moving so fast, it made it a lot easier. So like exactly what your close rate is on things, or what your engagement rate is, things like that. But then when they took that ability to kind of look under the hood that deeply away, then the old things start to come back into play, right? And primarily, now you can't just remarket to somebody, for instance, because the phone's blocking it. So you have to get them to engage deeper. It's no longer just getting them on your landing page and hoping they fill out, a form. And so what I've seen on our end, at least, that we've been doing, and we've been really going back to the core concept of storytelling. Mm-hmm. And so we're using storytelling in ads to elicit basically a psychological response from people of, oh, these guys get me. They can solve my problem. I want to talk to them. And then they're handing over their info to you. So then via other channels, you can follow up with them, remarket to them. So I think, a lot of that stuff got passed over at a certain point, and it's kind of all coming full circle again.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because I know from my personal experience, like storytelling is super huge. I see it so much like on Instagram where people tell their story and then it leads to something else and then that's what their offer is. So I see like I always hear this from like marketing people when they always say like, okay, yeah, you have to story tell with your marketing, with your brand, whatsoever, but on Instagram and so many other platforms, I see it, and it just so happens to just at the end of it, it's like, okay, this is the call to action, and this is what you do. But in short, I see it so much, so many times on Instagram versus an actual like marketing whole campaign and everything like that. Yeah, so
Yeah, it works, and it's not unbelievable, right? Because what most of those stories are following is the hero's journey, and we all know it. Books, TV, movies, plays, like almost all things that we absorb follows that path. And what's his name? Donald Miller.
Yep.
Wrote a fantastic book about it called Building a Story Brand, and he kind of breaks it all down and really and it's not even he didn't even invent it, right? He just perfectly packaged it into a good business example. But yeah, it's a fantastic way to build authentic connections and also though at the same time still establish yourself as a thought leader, but you're just not putting yourself in the center of it. You're putting your customer first.
Exactly. So when you said you exited back in, was it 2017?
Yes.
So when you did the exit, was that a planned exit, or did you say, hey, I don't want to do this business anymore? Or were you like, okay, I got to this point, I want to go ahead and sell it? Because for me, I'm at a point where it's like, okay, now I want to scale, or there's multiple things for me to do in my business. I could sell it, I can do this, I can do that. What made you want to exit the business in 2017, if you don't mind me asking?
It's a complicated story. The I'm trying to think how much of it I can tell, because technically, so the long and short of it, our agency was doing amazing. Like we were crushing it to the point where my goal was to sell it, and unfortunately, we were so busy and we were doing so well. I didn't notice that one of our employees was embezzling from us. And so he embezzled, I think, about 130 grand and fled the country.
Wow.
Yeah. So we the long and short of it is we tried to restructure, but we weren't, even though we were doing really well, $130,000 was a lot.
Huge.
Yeah. So then at that point, I had to wind it down and call it. And that's when I was like, okay, what do I really want to do now? And
that's full betrayal on there. How did you find that person embezzling? And
oh, this is even worse. Do you want to know the day I found out?
I do. Go ahead.
It was December 25th.
On Christmas.
Yeah. I'm sitting on the floor with my kid building the gifts that we got him in the living room, right?
Okay.
Whole family's over, in-laws over, everyone. All of a sudden, my phone starts blowing up. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And it's my bank saying that like scheduled EFTs were bouncing. And I'm like, there's no possible way. Because, we shut down every December for 2 weeks. We get like a month and a half worth of work done in the first 2 weeks. So we should be flush. And so then I start looking into it. And then all of a sudden we're trying to figure out, what it was. And we notice a bunch of the checks that the bank is saying aren't going to clear were to the post office. And I was like, that's weird. We haven't done any mail drops because we had the direct mail house. And come to find out, it took a couple days. Come to find out, what would happen was we'd send this dude to the post office with the truck full of bulk mail and a check to write for the postage. He would buy like 200 or 300 rolls of stamps.
Mm-hmm.
And then he found a guy in San Diego that had like one of those mailboxes, etc., that he would sell them to at a discounted rate. And so for like a year, that's how, and it's on me. But that's how busy we were. For a year, I didn't miss the money until then. All of a sudden, it finally hit enough that it
was too late.
didn't work. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. How did you feel at that moment in time? Like, I would have been like crushed. Like, I've actually had employees steal from me. They stole. I kind of can relate to that because they stole gas from me, and they had gas cards, and the gas cards were net 30, right? They're net 30.
Oh, and then you get a giant bill.
Yeah, so it's net 30. They had this setup where they would go down to the gas station and they would have a line. They would have a line of people, of cars, and then they would just swipe. And then I got this bill this one time, and it said 42,000. I said, "Holy shit!" I said, "There's no fucking way." I did some dig deep, like I dug really deep, called the police, and I found out who it was. I went to the gas station, and I said, "You can't be fucking kidding me." I seen on surveillance. I was crushed. I was betrayed, and I felt like I was violated. How did you feel when you seen that, or you felt?
I did not take it well.
Were you mad at yourself, or were you?
I was mad at myself. I wanted to run the dude over with a truck. But I think at the end of the day, the thing, it definitely was me. Because the soul crushing part was all my other employees that kicked ass for me, showed up early, stayed late, came in on weekends, whatever. Like, they did nothing wrong. We were clocking and we were looking, seriously to sell the company, and it's just, vapor all of a sudden. So, and that was a big reason that at the time, once it finally was obvious that we were just gonna like drive ourselves to an early grave, if we kept trying to fight upstream, and we just had to pull the plug. At the time, I decided because my employees were family, not literally, but like family. And I had kind of been like, okay, I don't want to run a company anymore, because I don't want to ever have another employee that sucked.
Right. Like
that whole feeling of that process. And that's why I started doing consulting for these other agencies. And then, just one day, I think I just had enough. I was like, why do I keep fixing these problems and they keep making the same dumb mistake over and over? It's like, it's time for me just to, do it for myself.
It's like when you catch an employer, you tell the employee the same thing. It's like kicking a tree stump.
Yeah. And the problem was, at the end of the day, they'd hire me to fix these things. But then, some of these owners of these companies, you and I are stubborn, right? We're business owners.
Right, 100%.
They're stubborn too. And sometimes they don't want to put up with my shit just because they don't like what I have to say, even though I can show them on paper, like, hey, it works better. But it's their company.
Right. I get what you're saying. Was there any red flags for that person that, that ended up kind of stealing that money from you?
No, it's interesting. There was, like, if I had to totally armchair quarterback it, there was one time, and I can't even remember specifically what it was, but it was effectively I'd caught the dude in a lie, and thinking back now, it kind of all makes sense. I genuinely like people, and I want to believe the best in them. So I've never been like a real hard ass. Even like when I forget how many employees I had, like 20 or something. Like, I didn't care what you wore to work. I didn't care if you want to listen to music all day. I don't care about any of that stuff. All I care about is the work gets done and the client's happy.
Right.
Everything else is cool, So I've always been kind of like that, because I figure if we're all comfortable and all having a good time, then there's nothing wrong with that. But looking back, I probably should have fired the dude.
Should have, right? What can you do, though? Lesson learned.
It's just money. I can make more money, right? I mean, I'm healthy. My kid's healthy. My wife's healthy. What more can I ask for?
Exactly. I mean, from my biggest lesson that I learned from this person that stole gas from me in that crazy amount, I was super mad at myself, because I should have been looking at my P&L, on a monthly basis. I was, again, like you, I think it was like in 2021 when it was just super slammed. Everybody was moving, and I was so full of myself, and I was just like, this is never going to end. There's so much money coming into the account, and I get hit with the bill, and I'm just like, oh shit. I should have been looking at my P&L every single month, and that was my fault. But that's the biggest lesson that I learned from that situation. And I always take something, from every single situation that I learned. What was the biggest lesson that you learned from that situation?
I had to learn to become zen with paperwork. Paperwork legit is my kryptonite.
Sucks.
My accountant every year threatens to fire me. This is the first year. This is the first year that it was kind of all like everything he had asked for the prior year, everything was done except for one thing. And I could totally tell that I've stressed him to his max, because out of like the 20 things, we got 19 done. And he sent me an email. He's like, if this one thing isn't done by next week,
you're out.
That's it. Yeah. So I've been working really hard. I don't spend, that whole, like you can work on a business or work for a business,
yes.
Right? And these days, I think because we have so many new accounts and so many of our current accounts are really starting to blow up and expand, I haven't had a lot of time to work on the business, which is also keeping me up at night and stressing me out, because I know you don't want to be in that feast and famine cycle, right?
Yep.
And I know things are good right now, but who knows? A nuclear bomb could go off tomorrow. The Fed could raise interest rates to 11,000%. Like,
right?
No one knows. So I definitely need to spend more time. But yeah, the first priority and the thing I learned the most is I need to be more focused on the business part of the business.
Yeah.
I'm the one that I want to be the one that dreams it and goes out and makes it happen. The that side of it,
I know what you
it's
mean.
not really my thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like with a lot of entrepreneurs that they have this vision and they need to go attack the vision, and there's like other little things that you're just like, I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to do this. For me, it's also the same thing where it's like I hate operations. I hate operations, and I hate dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. I mean, I love it, but there comes a certain point where I'm just like, I'm over it. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. And the sad reality is, once I finally force myself to do it, it's kind of the funniest part. Usually it's like something that takes 10 minutes.
Right.
It's like, why didn't I just do that 2 weeks ago when the guy asked me to do it?
Exactly. So let's talk about your company now. Movu?
Movu.
Movu. Got it. Where did you get that name from?
So I'd mentioned that we had, in my old company, had partnered with Salesforce. And at one point we were looking at doing a platform on Salesforce for the hospitality industry. So mostly restaurants, but some bars were using it also. And so it was like a customer loyalty program. So it would, the program we built on the CRM would monitor like birthdays, visits, all that stuff. And the concept, we never got it out of beta, but the concept was it was going to give people essentially mobile vouchers. So it was primarily SMS driven, and there was going to be an app. And so at the time, I had reserved Movu for kind of like short mobile voucher, and I was like, that's a weird word. Nobody's ever heard of it. It'll visually look interesting. And so we had the domain.
Yeah.
Never did anything with it, and I realized it was in my GoDaddy still. And so then I did a LexisNexis search and saw there was no corporation called Movu, and so I just called my attorney. I'm like, here, just file this.
Nice.
So there was really no thought put into it.
So how many employees do you have currently with Movu?
5 that are distributed across the country. We've got a few overseas VAs. And then depending upon the project and the length of the project, sometimes, we'll bring others on board. Or sometimes even if there's a few other agencies that I still help and I know them real well and trust them, so then we'll collaborate on a project.
Gotcha. I love everything about marketing. I've been working with you for a while now. Ever since we started, you created you redid my website, or maybe created my website.
During COVID, actually. It was during lockdown.
Yeah.
I remember. Yeah, because you were here because you guys were hustling. You were working 24/7. I remember talking to you on the phone. It was like 12:30, 1 in the morning.
Yeah,
because that was the only time you guys were just like revolving door doing stuff,
trying to make it happen. What's your favorite part about like digital marketing? Because you work on a whole different tons of projects. I worked with you with LinkedIn. I've worked all types of fun, crazy campaigns, drip campaigns, and all these types of processes and everything like that. I love it. What do you like most about it? Like, what's your favorite type of campaign to run?
I mean, the building the websites and the SEO stuff is cool. Like it's necessary. I love the storytelling aspect and writing copy for campaigns and really getting into the nuts and bolts of that. And then that kind of naturally leads into, I think, probably the spot where I'm strongest, and that's like the marketing automation and the integration. From all the stuff we did for Salesforce or with Salesforce, I just kind of have a knack for it. And so building those follow-up campaigns, whether it's, we do everything from like nurturing campaigns, from ad campaigns, cold email campaigns, the organic LinkedIn stuff that you were mentioning, you name it, and then getting it so the client, whatever CRM they have, making sure it all talks to each other, so the contact information and everything's in sync. And now with all the AI stuff, all the extra bells and whistles that you can throw in there to really make it seem like a human experience for the lead, it's pretty crazy what's going on right now.
Right. How have you? I mean, AI. Hey guys, if you really like this video, like, comment, and subscribe. This will help the channel grow drastically. Share this to 5 different people that you think can benefit from it. Now back to the video. So many things going on with AI. I use ChatGPT. There's a couple of other things where it's like you can type something in and it gives you like crazy photos. What have you done to integrate AI into your business?
So we just this week released some AI tools in our marketing automation platform. Mostly, I mean, there's a ton of other things we could add in, but we tried to specifically pick things that we thought our clients would probably be really bad at. So for instance, if they want to do a Facebook post and they want to boost it, they can click a button, fill in the basics of what's your main offer, and it basically like 2 or 3 basic questions, like what's your main offer, who are you targeting, and I don't know what the third one would be, but and then they click go, and it'll return to them 5 different options for ad copy.
Right.
And so we've got stuff like that. We keep trying to get them to do video content, and they don't want to because we want to get them on TikTok. So we programmed a prompt on the back end so they can put in their basic idea and click a button, and our platform will give them a TikTok video script to follow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I won't lie, it's leveraging ChatGPT. Like, we didn't do anything super fancy. We just found out a way to integrate it and make it simple, right? And then there's like sales. Like, if you get, then we were thinking, okay, the cold email, what if they get a rejection back? So we made a prompt that you can feed in the response you got, and then it's a sales objection handler. It'll give you a couple different ways to respond.
Are you using ChatGPT for something like this, or is it a different AI tool?
No. We looked at what is it, DaVinci? But yeah, no, we're using ChatGPT.
Yeah. And I mean, with these AI tools, it's just streamlining the process. I feel like, for me at least, whenever we use these AI tools, it's like it doesn't make everything easier, but if you have a creative mind, it makes the thoughts and everything like that easier, so you're more efficient on there. Is that the same thing for you?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's I think if you start, if you go back to, what was it, like maybe 1999, 98, where the internet really started to take off.
Yeah.
And then there was that fear. People are like, holy shit, this thing's going to replace me doing research for XYZ company. How, why would they pay me if somebody can just go look it up on the internet, kind of thing. And then every wave of technology that's come out, there's always been that feeling. And so now there's like two competing, like a yin and a yang, which kind of really makes sense if you look at the way society is right now. You've got business owners that just look at it from a 2,000-foot view, and they're like, holy shit, I can get rid of some of my staff and make this company more profitable. Then you've got the employees that are like, oh my God, like maybe I'm a copywriter. Oh my God, this thing can write copy.
Yeah.
My days are numbered. But the reality, all these platforms, including this one, it's a tool. Mm-hmm. It's not a fix-all. It's not like there's no easy road in life. Like nothing works that simply. And if you, it's also in a lot of ways like the smartest infant you've ever met. It knows a lot of stuff, but if you don't really give it the contextual framework with which you want a response back, it's going to give you either total BS or something that doesn't quite make sense. Or so for instance, if like, let's say you had an employee here that all they do is write ad copy for ads on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And then you decide, oh, I'll just let ChatGPT do it. But if you don't understand, for instance, maybe the different types of copy hooks that are popular that people respond to, or different types of storytelling techniques, and you just tell it, give me 5 ads for a moving company.
Right.
You're going to get garbage back and you're not going to get the result you want, right?
Exactly.
So I just look at it as it's a tool to just make us be more efficient mm-hmm. and make more money for people.
Exactly. So where do you typically see businesses and small businesses needing the most help? Because for us, I think where we needed the most help was really just getting our name out there. And because we used, the same exact platforms, which was Yelp, Google, SEO, Google Ads, and that was good. But we wanted to kind of differentiate, some of the things, which was like we did the cold emails, we did the LinkedIn, and really getting out there and then really being competitive, because the moving industry is so huge and there's so many people in the Bay Area, at least. Where do you see the most companies that need the most help?
I think the number one thing across the board is remembering to stay visible to your existing clients, mm-hmm. to your leads.
And what does that look like when you say that?
So because, most especially with small businesses, you're the CEO, craftsman, and janitor.
Right.
So really what it involves is we set up campaigns. So we'll do a deep dive with a client and figure out, okay, where are all your energies right now in attracting attention? Mm-hmm. And then when you get that when you get those leads, what does that look like? What's the process? And so then we just carve out a way to automate it. And so we will create campaigns for each initiative they have. If we're going to launch a new one, like we're getting ready to launch one for you, right? And mm-hmm. so we built out that whole, remember we built funnel. Out a whole funnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so same thing. And so we just make sure that every single thing has something behind it. Mm-hmm. So that way, you're not spending money on someone that you're never going to follow up with and forgets about you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty crazy, because I know that whenever I look at my marketing report, I always try to take a look at my customer acquisition cost and seeing what's the most expensive, or like what is that referral that I typically look for that's going to take my business to the next level. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't Yelp, it wasn't Google, it wasn't any of those other things. It's always been one of those like automated, like either cold email or like cold outreach. And those have been like home runs, for us. Have you seen the same experience with some of the companies you work with? Yeah.
We get some pushback sometimes. People say, oh, well, we don't want people to think it's like a robot. But I mean, this stuff's pretty sophisticated now, so you can make it not sound like that. And a lot of times too, people will say, well, we can just do that ourselves. I'll assign such and such to do it. But the reality of the situation is we're all chasing paper.
Right.
And once a job is done, you're looking at that next one. And you might love that last client you have, and they do deserve, like, thanks for your business, and hey, we'll keep you in the loop of what's going on. But that becomes, understandably so, second priority, right?
Right.
Because you got the next one that you're hunting down, and so we just try to reason with people and explain to them that they could have the best intentions, but 2-3 weeks down the line, they're going to stop doing the follow-up themselves. And when they do, we're going to put this in place, and it works.
Right. I mean, I was guilty of that, where I'm just like, okay, I have my VAs, they're super cheap or whatever from, in the Philippines, wherever it is. And I'm like, okay, they can go ahead and do it, and they can, try to copy everything, but they're not the professionals at it. So then I would be like, oh shit, then my return on investment is low, and I end up losing money. So that's why I'm like, let's go ahead and have the professional do it. That's why I go to you, and that's why I make sure that I have you guys run my campaigns, essentially. So, I think that whenever somebody does need professional services or anything with marketing, they should go to the professional at the end of the day.
Oh, I'm a firm believer in that. I'm positive I could go on YouTube and figure out how to change the oil in my car. You know what I'm not going to do?
You're not going to do it.
Not going to do it. There's a whole industry of people that can do that.
Now, with what I always think of like creative ways of how to market and reach out to new clients. Is it with you and your company, is it always you're learning something every day, like a new way to outreach somebody? Because with Google, there's a whole bunch of algorithms. With like Nextdoor, it might be good for 1 month, and then it might not be good. And then like with LinkedIn, it might be good during this time of the month, and it might not be good at this time of the month. Like, how are you able to stay up to date with all of those platforms?
Oh man, you wouldn't imagine the number of white papers, podcasts, and YouTube videos that I watch. I consume so much on a given month, in any given month, just because there's always something happening. And then to further compound things, before we started, we were talking about Google AdWords and how some of the auctions have been run up huge right now, and the cost per click is crazy.
Right.
So sometimes it's not even anything that it's like some outside force that you can't deal with, right? And so we've been working really hard to try to keep eyes on things and basically just always try to figure out whatever it is, if it's a discovery call or a quote or whatever the thing is we're trying to get for the client, just make sure it's the lowest cost we can possibly get it.
Right. So with the economy that it's at right now, people are in fear. People are closing down their businesses and everything like that. If somebody was to come to you and say, hey, I'm scared. I don't know what to do about my business. The leads are not coming in like it was before. What is that one thing that you would guide them to try to get business, or where would you consult with them, like what to do next?
One thing,
or one like the project that you would kind of guide them to do, because a lot of the times that I'm getting, a lot of my friends in the moving industry, a lot of my friends with other businesses that I talk to, and they're just like, man, like, I don't know what to do. The leads are not coming in. My phone's not ringing. Real estate is down 30% across the nation. People are up in the air, kind of scared right now. From what at least from my group of people, that's what they tell me. So like, I want to ask, what would you guide them to do?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, so the way that we roll with all of our clients and anybody that calls us is we want to be realistic,
right?
Because marketers are terrible people. You probably get 100 emails. They suck, myself included, but I'm trying to fix this. I was doing a presentation to a franchise group an hour ago, and I said, anybody ever use a digital marketing agency before? And one guy raised his hand. He's like, yeah, unfortunately. And that's the view the public has.
So
And-
negative connotations, essentially.
Yeah, because they lie and they say like we'll get you ranked first on Google in a month. It's bullshit. It can't happen. It's physically impossible. And so a lot of times, when somebody comes to me like that, I'll ask them, "Hey, what's your runway?" And, I'm in trouble. I need help. Okay, what's your runway? How long until you're totally screwed? And if they've got 6 to 8 months, then we could put together a really well-rounded, like, okay, SEO is the marathon part of it. We're going to get started right away. We do need to buy some attention and run some ads in the meantime while the SEO is building up. We'll get you out there on social, and let's look at what kind of direct outreach campaigns we can do to help get you in front of people really fast. If they're like on the balls of their ass, and this is like the last Hail Mary with 2 minutes left in the game, honestly, I think, and of course it depends on the industry because you want to go where your people are hanging out, but I would try and find any sort of power partner that can help you and spend 8 hours a day on LinkedIn like it was my job, introducing myself and trying, and then once you get a couple of those, then reinvest in all that other stuff I was explaining, because that's all stuff probably these guys should have been doing in the first place and just didn't for whatever reason because they were busy or and I think it's a matter of you got to rebuild that foundation so that way when you build the house on top of it, it doesn't fall down next time.
Gotcha. Yeah, so direct outreach, essentially. I mean, I wasn't doing that when I first started, but I've seen such a return on there. Now, you talk about the negative connotations with marketing. I didn't really know that, but with the moving industry, there's so many negative connotations where, either your movers, I hate to say it, but, either they're felons, they break stuff, they steal stuff, they're not your employees, and that's what the whole industry essentially has. What are some of the negative connotations that marketers have? Because here's the thing. I get emails on the daily with people, I don't know if they're from India or wherever they are, and they say, #1 SEO, Google Analytic, whatever it is, in 1 month, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Some people fall for that.
It's too bad. And what generally ends up happening with those is they'll upsell a business owner into signing some sort of like full scale digital campaign.
Right.
And it takes them about 30 days to blow it to the point where the business owner's pissed.
Right.
And then the response is, you signed a 12-month contract, you owe us money.
Oh, shit.
And so even with, when I took that brief hiatus in between companies and was doing consulting, even with some of the companies that I was consulting for, these digital agencies, they had things that, I mean, there were some that were straight up dishonest that I just refused to work with. And there were a couple that, in my opinion, they were doing things that looked a little slimy. And so those were like the first things I'm like, okay, we got to change this because nobody's going to want to do this.
And when you say that it was a little bit slimy, sorry to cut you off there. When you say it was a little bit slimy, was it just the way that they're saying how fast they're going to get a return on investment on their money?
Over-promising and under-delivering. In some cases, I thought the contracts they were making clients sign were a little too aggressive.
Like a 12-month, 18-month.
And then like huge penalties to bail out, and it didn't sound right to me. My general feeling is you got to work hard for someone every single month,
right?
Earn it, right?
Earn it, yeah.
And then the biggest thing, and this is across the board, I've seen like totally reputable, honest companies and total bullshit artists. This trap they fall into all the time when they do reporting calls. They create some really cool slides of basically the charts that they pick and choose that they want to show the client, and not the whole thing. So when I set out to open Movu, everything has to be measurable. And we also no long-term contracts, like literally 30-day notice.
Different, yeah.
Yeah, and then the last thing, we partnered with a third-party company called Agency Analytics. And so we create, in there, we can go in, create a custom dashboard for that particular client, connect all the APIs for like, Google Ads, Facebook, like social and paid, Instagram, keyword rankings, basically everything. And it's all in one interactive dashboard that they can drill down into and see everything. And we explain it on our monthly reporting call to them. But if they really want to get down into the tiniest little detail, it's all there. We're not hiding anything.
Right. And I actually realized that as well too, because I've spoke to other marketing companies and they're like 12 months, 12 months, you got to pay this. And if you don't, you're going to pay a cancellation fee. And, it's just like, dude, do I really think that you're going to do this for that long? And like, are my results going to be, a huge return on investment? And a lot of the times when I, reach out to one of them, they're just like, yeah, you're going to get a 10x return. And I was like, really?
You could. I mean, I really believe in setting the right expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing that sucks, because all of these crazy dudes out there that are saying, I'll get you rankings in 30 days, I have to spend 10 minutes explaining how SEO works to somebody and explaining that, no, it's not 30 days. It's going to be 4 to 6 months, probably, maybe 8, but, I think if you set the proper expectation, and then even before the ad campaigns that we launch for people, we always like to look at what the auction is, look at, what the budget and the audience size is, and kind of work backwards for them and break down all the numbers backwards. So that way we can figure out what that daily budget and cost per lead and cost per acquisition is going to be, and do the math with them and figure out, okay, based on what you're charging, does that work? Because
Right.
sometimes it doesn't, right? And some of these other guys would be like, no, you locked into 12 months of Google Ads. You have to run a campaign or your money's like, no, that's not how it works. We're the whole goal is we're supposed to help you grow your business, not force you into something you can't get out of.
Exactly. So what's your favorite, I know you work with multiple industries all the way from, I'm in the moving industry. We spoke about another industry that you're working with. What is your favorite industry to work with, or do you have a favorite industry to work with?
I think the home services industry, honestly, is my favorite.
Is there like a specific? I'm gonna have to get in that business if it's that easy.
A vertical within home services. I think it's not a vertical within, but working with franchises has been a lot of fun. National franchises, only because a lot of them shockingly have really bad internal systems. So we've been able to go plug in our automation and hook it up to their stuff and build out their campaigns. So the scale of that's fun.
Yeah.
I think just in general, like compared to the 20 whatever years I did stuff in the real estate industry, real estate agents are really demanding. And it's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not saying like, oh, I hate realtors. They're just extremely demanding. The thing I love about business owners in the home services industry is they seem to be comfortable saying, I don't know how to do this stuff. So they don't try to tell you you're wrong or whatever. They're open to listening, how and why. It's primarily like a cash on hand kind of business. So yeah. I don't have to have my accountant chasing people to get paid, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And there's just it kind of similar to the real estate industry with home services companies. There's a ton of them.
Yeah.
So much so, in fact, I know, but I'll tell the audience, we only work, like, take moving companies. You're the only moving company in this market we're going to work with, right?
Right.
Or, a termite company in Alabama that we have called Bama Exterminating. They're the only pest control. So it's nice that way we're not creating false competition with anyone. And we can also take what we've learned in other markets and help. Like we're all rising that ship together, right?
Right. No, and I totally agree with you. And like, especially if you have like a lot of accounts and a lot of companies that you work with, you can see what works in like different businesses or different types of industries and then apply it, elsewhere. Right? Is that what you do?
Yeah, we've got one client. I won't say the name of the company, but he's got a healthy appetite for risk, and so he and I had a conversation a while back that he wants to know. Usually, we test stuff out ourselves. Like I've got a couple of like side things online that have nothing to do with my business, but I only use them to test ad campaigns and whatever. And it's a good sandbox. He wants to try all that stuff. So it's kind of cool that he's one of our clients because we can try it in real life, in real time in the industry, and then we're able to use that info. And then like I could tell you, hey, if you ever check this thing out, look at these results, things like that.
Yeah.
That's something that I've, at least in my 25 or whatever years, that's something I've found only unique to the home services industry, where it's more, it's not as, and I'm sure you get in tons of, arguments with people like your competitors or whatever.
Yeah.
But it seems like there's more of a spirit of collaboration.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
That's great. So kind of coming to the end of this podcast, I kind of like to ask some personal questions like,
Sure.
What do you like to do on your free time?
Well, these days, I have an 11-year-old that takes, he's awesome. So definitely, spending time with him. We doing sports and playing Fortnite. I've been doing a lot of charity work.
Okay.
Over the last couple of years. In fact, I did a thing with Beats for Hope and Feeding America. We had a music event, and there was 110, 120 DJs. We raised enough funds for over 300,000 meals for food banks across the country. And then kind of my personal mental health and wellness hobby, I guess you could call it, if you want to call it that, is I'm a DJ also.
Nice. Oh, yeah, you were talking to me about that before. And is that just because you love to do it? You were in it before, or?
Yeah, I did it before pandemic, and then got married, had kid, and kind of lost touch with it. And then during lockdown, I needed something to do, and I kind of got into it. And it was gonna be, okay, I'm just gonna do this for myself. And then it was gonna be, okay, I'll just maybe stream on Twitch a couple times a month. And then it was going to be, okay, maybe I'll just do a nightclub here and there. Mm-hmm. And, now I'm going to Vegas and San Diego. But it's still honestly, like the work and family are main priorities. So once every couple of months, I'll go do an event somewhere.
Gotcha. If somebody wanted to get into digital marketing and, the industry or the space that you're in, what's one thing that you would tell them before getting into it?
Ezra Firestone.
What is
he owns a company called Smart Marketer, along with Molly Pittman. I've never met Molly personally, but I've had tons of conversations with her, and I've actually taken some of the workshops and stuff that she's done. This was years ago, but I still keep in touch. Smart Marketer, if somebody wants to learn how to become a paid traffic person for any company, I would highly advise taking a look. Ezra walks the walk. He has his own brands. He's got a Shopify tool. If I remember correctly, it's called Zip Forms, something like that. And he also has a e-commerce makeup brand. So he knows his stuff. He's actually doing it and is wildly famous. But the workshops that they put together, they're not trying to hustle anyone. They truly want to help people. Mm-hmm. So I'd say do that.
Gotcha. So if somebody wanted to use your services or find you anywhere to ask you some questions on anything like that, where can they find you?
All you got to do is go to movu.com. It's M as in Mary, O, V as in Victor, OU.com. And right on the homepage, there's actually a schedule consultation button. Click that and my schedule will pop right up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having coming onto the podcast, Chris.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love the studio.
Awesome.
All right, that's a wrap. That's the best.